All right, so we're back, and that's what happens when you don't manage time as well. I wasn't paying attention. As I was saying, Cody is going to pull a 2008 John Cena at the Royal Rumble and show up. Because I know for sure they're lying about his timeline, because there's no way he's showing up the month before Mania.
Or after Mania. How are we supposed to have a Mania, Jack, without Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, Cody is definitely going to be there, and he's definitely, hopefully, going to be challenging for one of the world titles. I will not make that prediction, though, because who knows what their plans are for Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of knowing plans or not knowing plans for certain people, we have
transition, though.
We have the Mysterios versus Judgment Day, who ever since they kicked out Edge as their leader, and then unfortunately when Rhea Ripley got injured, really lost a bit of momentum and kind of direction.
Yes, and when this match is underway, I'm rooting for Judgment Day because I think they need a win to be relevant, a continued threat.
Yeah.
I still don't know what their purpose is. This is, of course, your brother's favorite wrestler, Damian Priest, and Finn Balor.
Yeah, so they're facing off, and even though I did mention it, Rhea Ripley has made a return, and she's at ringside with the group.
Yep.
Wait, oh yeah, I mentioned it on. Wait, did I mention it on this pod? Yeah, I mentioned the whole the tomorrow's episode will be us talking about Dominic Mysterio involvement in that Eddie Guerrero Rey Mysterio feud. That was so long ago, as well as Rey Mysterio's debut, as it is now, I believe they said 20 years that he's been wrestling. So, there's kind of two things at stake when you look at this match. It's like, do they give Rey the big win on pay-per-view to celebrate his 20 years? Do they give it to Judgment Day because, they need it as far as needing some type of momentum or direction? And
another thing a few of us have got our eye on, does Dominic turn on Rey and join Judgment Day? He's a son. He's got an overbearing father. There's this cool, Hot Topic looking group. That's what the kids like, right, Jack? They like saying no to their parents and wearing a lot of makeup and wearing a lot of black. Judgment Day.
I just want to say I wish I had the privilege of saying no to my parents. Those who grew up in a Hispanic household know there's no such thing as saying no to your parents.
So Dominic is in a tough mind.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot as well. But what'd you think of the match?
His dad was Eddie Guerrero, right? That's for tomorrow to decide.
That's gonna be the funniest thing to bring up. Is then like how I told you, telling them that he's wrestling now, but telling them, oh yeah, they basically retconned that whole feud because they've been referring to Rey as his father and his biological father, despite all the stuff that went in that feud.
You know what you need to do is pull up a picture of Rey Mysterio when he was in the Filthy Animals in WCW. And get that baby face Rey, right, and put it side by side with Dominic, and then say, and then they wanted us to believe that Eddie was his dad.
Oh man, yeah. So, what do you think of the match, sir?
It was just, it was a Raw match. This one, nothing on the line. It wasn't no disqualification, but they don't do a lot with that.
Yeah, they didn't really do a lot.
A little chair that's thrown around in a couple of places.
Yeah, and then what's that? The lights go out.
Hey.
And it's your favorite guy.
My favorite wayward guy.
Edge makes his return after being kicked out of the group, and he rises up from a oddly elevated staircase, I guess is what you could call it. He
has one of the coolest shirts I've seen in a long old time, but I'm not going to get it. And he's wearing this red leather jacket. I don't think he's going to be able to rip off his torso because it's so tight.
Yeah.
But he comes out, hits a couple of good-looking spears. That spear on Damian Priest was a real good-looking spear.
Yeah, he comes out and the Mysterios get the win over Judgment Day.
Yep.
No turn from
the
Dominic.
baby faces, by the way, as far as the first 4 matches go, are
yeah.
on a roll.
Yeah, baby faces are on a roll so far. And let's see if they continue being on a roll as we get into our next match. And actually, before getting into the next match, I think it is at this point that we get another promo package.
Promo package before the Happy Corbin. Who was it?
The Kevin Owens one. I don't know if you caught that one.
Oh, I don't think I did.
Yeah, they did like a whole hype package for Kevin Owens, like basically his whole like main roster career so far, like showing all his highlights and hyping him up, and that's where you definitely know Triple H has his hands on this product.
You know what I've heard? I've heard that actually I think different regions get different promo packages. Because somebody brought up a Charlotte package, and they thought, what does that mean? And
I saw that one.
You did?
Yeah.
So, like, I think, because you know what? There was it a Sasha Banks one, like, in March that didn't go anywhere. And I go, oh, this is just like a commercial for the wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. I'm sure it was a great piece of, like, you know, video. But I wouldn't count on it going anywhere.
Yeah. But
it's like, you know, one of those like WWE 365, but more like 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. But like to me, it also is just like that's definitely one of Triple H's guys. So like,
hey. Yeah. Hey, did you see the Sami Zayn interview with Stone Cold?
I actually didn't.
I've been meaning to, and it's on my list. I'm going to turn it on during a car ride so I can listen to them talk. I mean, how crazy, right? Like, Stone Cold starts with, like, your Cenas, your Undertakers, Triple H. Then he kind of, like, is like, all right, let's talk to Kevin Owens. Let's talk to Bayley. And now he's at Sami Zayn. You're like, yeah, that's an incredible, like, I'm sure that's an incredible conversation.
Yeah. I definitely want to catch that because I really enjoy Zayn and I want to see like what type of stuff Stone Cold asks him.
Yeah. Do they bring up El Generico? Does Stone Cold know how to bring up El Generico?
Yeah, I definitely would want to see how does he bring that up to
like,
him.
I would love to hear him in his Texas accent go, y'all still keep in touch with that El Generico?
Yeah, and I want to see Sammy still like keep the whole kayfabe that Generico went away to Mexico. Definitely would be interesting.
Hey, speaking of kayfabe, we've got 2 former Indianapolis Colts football players who have some heat.
Yeah, I did not know Baron Corbin played for the Colts because anytime they've shown a photo of him in the NFL, it's for the Cardinals.
That's funny. So, you know, he was there for a cup of coffee on the bench, I'm sure. But, yeah, we got Happy Corbin. And he ain't too happy because there's like a choir singing Bum A $$ Corbin.
Yeah, that was definitely
one of my
so
favorite
odd.
moments is like him like recognizing that, like a real fourth wall break kind of moment. Camera's right on his face. He's like, how do we got a choir singing that?
Yeah, it's like good old, is this allowed?
Yeah.
And then it was so funny explaining this to Dom because he was asking about who Pat McAfee was because he saw the whole talk about football. And we're like, oh yeah, so he was a punter in the NFL. He was good, so he made his money there for a couple years, retired pretty early, and then started training to become a wrestler and get involved with the WWE. And then he was brought on for commentary and then had a match or two ever since.
You know, it's a pain in my side, the idea that Pat McAfee and Logan Paul are on this card and a lot of people aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. I mean, I love Pat as a commentator, and obviously his match with his matches with Theory and Vince at Mania were, you know, enjoyable, especially like the post-match antics. But yeah, it definitely is like looking at certain things like how is Gunther not on the card with the IC title? You know, how are who else was not on this card? I'm trying to think. Obviously, Kevin Owens wasn't. Ezekiel wasn't. A lot of the different women weren't. You know.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely is like one of those things where it's like it'll be enjoyable for certain aspects of it, but at the same time, you're just like maybe, especially because like as we'll see with I think it was the match right after, it's like, or no, not the match after, but the match in the co-main event that, you know, was very short because apparently time went long and they had to cut minutes from specifically a championship match. You know, it's one of those things where it's like maybe it's best to have not gone this route.
Yeah, definitely don't cut those minutes out of this Happy Corbin Pat McAfee match. And I think it's funny, I heard the report too, Jack, that perhaps the Logan Paul Miz match went long. You know what else went long? 3 women walking halfway down the ramp, one at a time. That went really long.
Yeah. And another segment that happens in the match after this one, but as far as this match went, what did you think, sir?
It was what it was. It wasn't much to write home about. A little sloppy in some areas.
Yeah, definitely sloppy in some areas, and much like Logan, Pat was pretty gassed halfway through.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
I had a good time telling my sister, hey, you see this guy with the nice-looking shirt? You know, he's always had to wear something on his torso because he's, like, skinny fat.
You could tell, especially because of whenever he tried to hit those top rope moves, man, was he was taking his time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, like, as far as constructive criticism goes, maybe dial back on going up top if you aren't as confident in your abilities.
Or, I mean, come on, where's Hardcore Holly to put this guy in his place? Just, he's like, you know what I mean? Like, he's having too much fun. Somebody's got to knock him around.
Yeah. And, you know, that especially ties into the end when the ref gets bumped and McAfee delivers him a punt kick right below the belt.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but McAfee gets the win off of Happy Corbin.
With what move, Jack?
The Code Red.
I mean, it was almost a real Code Red, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But McAfee walks away with the win. Don't know where Corbin goes from here.
Goodness, back to sad Corbin, I think. Down on his luck, Corbin. The man hasn't won anything of note in a very long, like since the lottery in Vegas.
Yeah, pretty much. Lost against Drew, lost against Madcap. So definitely see where he goes from here. And we move on to another sort of feud that you're just like, I wonder where a certain team, technically, where do both teams go from after this feud and this match is done with? We have the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship match, champions Uso against the Street Profits, with a special guest referee, Jeff Jarrett.
Yes. A special guest referee because at Money in the Bank there were some shady doings. A shoulder was up, but a 3 count was called, and we need somebody, Jack, that we can trust to be, you know, bipartisan, fair, right down the middle. Call it like he sees it.
And yet
Double
they
J,
chose
Jeff
Jarrett. Yeah, and yet they chose Jeff Jarrett, the man who's notorious for not being unbiased or shady.
Well, you've heard, Jack, those stories of people who went to work for TNA only to come back and have fans ask, "Where have you been?" So clearly, none of that is documented. So we don't know about his villainous clutch to the NWA World's title from like 2003 to 2009.
Yeah, oh man. But so yeah, they got Jeff Jarrett in here as special guest referee, and I will say he did do a good job of really emphasizing that he was watching those shoulders. Like, he was always trying to get the best angle to make sure he could see at any point if a shoulder comes up, he knows not to call the 3 count.
Did you hear this, Jack? And I would not blame you if you did it. At the very beginning of the match, Michael Cole recognizes that Jeff Jarrett has a very busy weekend planned while in Nashville.
I did not hear that reference. Oh wow!
You know exactly what it's referencing, right?
Yeah.
The next night on Sunday, he's only participating in Ric Flair's last match in the pay-per-view available on Fight TV titled Ric Flair's Last Match. So Michael Cole with that cheeky reference of Jeff Jarrett has a life outside of WWE.
Yeah, and another thing I forgot to mention, is in the last match when Cole was very much in the corner of McAfee, as you'd expect because they're broadcast partners on SmackDown. Corey Graves is calling that match with him, and Corey Graves tells him, I liked you better when you weren't allowed to have an opinion. And Michael Cole just tells him, things have changed. A lot of things have changed.
Ooh-wee. Goodness gracious. Straight fire.
Very entertaining. But yeah, I didn't catch that they were referencing that he was going to be wrestling the next night in Ric Flair's final match.
Which is in Nashville as well.
Yeah. But any other spots stood out specifically from this match? Sure, I know. One thing is always trying to look out if anything's going to be different because it's a rematch.
I actually missed this match the most out of all of them. Took a call, came back in time to see it had ended. But the results were spoiled for me later in the night, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel you. It, as far as my end, I mean, it was a rematch, so I didn't pique my interest, especially because, there was a couple things different, like Jeff Jarrett, like I said, really being mindful of watching those shoulders. They're really heavily emphasizing that Dawkins can hold his own so that people don't think it's just Montez, because people would think there's going to be an eventual Street Profits breakup. They don't want people thinking that Montez is going to be the one that gets all the shine and Dawkins is forgotten about, so they've been giving him a lot of spots to shine. And
people have real short-term memory because they're bigging up Montez Ford as this breakout star, and they're going to break up this tag team. They're going to put the rocket ship on Montez Ford, right? You and me, we've seen our fair share of tag teams go one way, and the WWE say, "Oh, actually, we're going to flip the script and actually make the Miz the key star player of this tag team." And John Morrison, who, right?
Yeah.
You're stop talking like this, or else you're going to challenge them to go, "Oh, you don't think we can make Angelo Dawkins a star?" Bam! He's going to wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
He's going to win the Rumble instead of Cody.
Meanwhile, Montez Ford is controlling his narrative. And where did we go wrong?
Oh, man. But yeah, so there wasn't much different except for that. And then, of course, as much as they're trying to, prove Dawkins is as good as Montez, Dawkins is still the one to eat the pin.
Ugh. And I read on CBS Sports, they say this wasn't anywhere near as good a match as they had in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, to be expected from... Well, it's usually to be expected from rematches, because usually it's the first time it ever happens, you can't recapture that lightning in a bottle first time match, unless the first one was bad. But a lot of times the first one was good.
Who knows what could have happened if you put somebody else in that referee role other than Jeff Jarrett. Hey, I saw this great tweet on Friday. Vince McMahon announces his retirement, and they go, "Can you believe it? Vince McMahon is out of the WWE, and Jeff Jarrett's in. What a world. He won the war. It was 20 plus years in the making."
Jeff Jarrett finally got his revenge.
Yeah.
Oh, but we move on, and we get a little segment where Riddle shows up, claiming that he doesn't care if he's not medically cleared. He wants to fight Seth Rollins, and Rollins actually does come out with a bunch of people trying to stop him, a bunch of people trying to stop Riddle from wrestling, and they still go at each other and brawl all around before Riddle is hit with the stomp from Seth Rollins.
A neat segment. I like it when Riddle is being intense and not silly. But a bummer that we don't get a match after all with Seth Rollins.
Yeah. I think something I saw was that I think someone said like obviously it's just rumors and stuff, but there was like rumor that kind of like a Triple H didn't want, or like he wanted to leave certain matches for Clash at the Castle, and this was like one of them where it would have made sense to have it on SummerSlam, but he wanted to push it back to Clash of the Castle just to increase the stature of that card.
I mean, I kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're in like you. So you put a match off until September, and you don't give us a match today. Okay, you want us to wait? Okay. I mean, I guess I am. I definitely am. But like, just there wasn't a match to replace it. Again, you have a roster of like 60. And you didn't have a match to replace it. You have a champion who wasn't even on the card, and you didn't have a match to replace this with. Okay.
Hey, you have champions on a developmental show that you could have given them a showcase. It wouldn't have really made sense because, like, promotion-wise, you didn't do anything to promote a match. But, hey, you knew you were going to do this. Why not maybe even give someone from there a showcase?
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's what I always like to emphasize when I do my game day episodes and I talk about certain wrestling topics. I'm like, this is just my criticism, like especially when I'm talking about AEW. I'm like, this is just my criticism. It's the one reason I have yet to talk about their women's division, because I already know the moment I do, all these people just like, oh, you're hating, you're trolling. And it's like, no, it's just valid criticism. I'm just saying.
And it comes from a place where we want these people and these companies to be operating at their best. You know what I mean? Like, we just want to enjoy this to the fullest extent possible. There are limits to the amount of joy we could get from these stupid people.
Yeah, and we can definitely say that for sure after all these years of being with the WWE.
I'm just saying, I might have to retire from this company. Hey, we got another match. It's the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Liv Morgan, who pulled out the upset victory at Money in the Bank, will defend her title against the woman she took it from in haste, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, she gets to defend it, and as I mentioned earlier, apparently the rumor is that certain time restrictions ended up coming into play, and this match didn't get the time that it apparently was gonna get. But even so, it's no shade to any of the competitors. But even if with more time, I can't say it would have been any better, seeing as how this match went.
I was going to literally say the exact same thing, Jack. More time, I can't imagine how that would have helped.
I think more time would have made this match even worse.
I was into every offensive move Liv got. Like, she'd sneak in a Rings of Saturn. She'd sneak in a crucifix, pin. And, like, I'm like, yes. She's just, like, it's coming out of nowhere, and she's looking like a credible champ. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Ronda's trying a lot, and Liv has got an answer for a couple of things. Like, okay, this is good. Like, I would reach the point, Jack, where I'm like, even if Ronda beats her, I think, like, she looked all right.
Yeah, and then we just completely throw that in the trash can as Ronda gets her in an armbar, and Morgan, is trying to struggle out of it, maybe reach the ropes. But then it looks like, she stacks her up for a pin. Except they get the 3, and you're like, Liv retained, cool. Until you start hearing on commentary, I think she tapped, and you're just like, wait, what?
I didn't even hear commentary. I heard Ronda from all the way from Nashville yelling at the ref, she tapped. And I go, what the heck are you talking about? You got pinned. Like, that was a clever way of ending this. Again, sneak out the victory. Ronda's had, 4 or 5 matches total over the last 3 years. I'm like, yes, this is good. But they show the replay, Jack, and she taps. What did she tap for?
Yeah, taps.
I created a headcanon, Jack. I think she taps so that Ronda lets go. Otherwise, Ronda doesn't let go.
Yeah.
But that's my headcanon.
Yeah, but so just a really confusing ending that involves Ronda Rousey then attacking Liv Morgan after the match and then taking down the referee.
I thought she should have kept going. Sean Davari comes out, Jamie Noble comes out, and I think she should have attacked the two of them as well.
Yeah. Truly so.
Because it was Jamie Noble. Throw him around. Let's go.
Yeah, but so... And then we come to learn that she would be indefinitely suspended in the kayfabe storyline.
That's some Brock Lesnar booking, am I right? Remember all the times he would be indefinitely sent home?
Yeah, just to be brought back at the end of the month.
We'll see her again.
Yeah. But so that finishes off that match. And with 19 minutes, we get to talk about the main event for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship champion Roman Reigns defending against Brock Lesnar.
And at this point, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my 10-year-old niece have joined me to watch the match.
Yeah, Dom at this point was also very excited. And we see Roman come out first, which is very surprising because, you know, obviously it's very weird to see champions come out first, but with good reason. As Brock makes his entrance, and he comes out with a massive tractor.
You know what? Incredible. An incredible sight. And he's steering it in that tiny walkway that they made for the wrestlers. Those turns are so tight. And he drives it all the way up to the ring. It's got a front loader that he raises up above the ring ropes, and he stands in it. And you know what I realized, Jack? That even though the champ comes out first, Mike Rowe's introductions abide by the rule. He announces Brock first, then the champ.
Yeah, I know. It was so funny because Dom sees him drive down with that tractor and just goes, what the heck's he going to do with that?
We all wondered, and goodness, does that question have the payoff of a lifetime.
It most definitely does, but
even just seeing him standing in that bucket, right? And he insists on, and there's a mic in there, and he insists on on announcing himself as the man who's going to beat Roman's $$. And did you see what happened after his announcement?
He throws the mic towards Roman, and Roman catches it.
Catches it clean. Goodness.
Yeah, very, very fun theatrics for this match, you know. And, you know, the rest of the match is what you'd come to expect from these two men as a...
The hell it is, Jack. Brock jumps out of that bucket onto Roman Reigns. And I am like, this is already worth everything we've spent to get here.
Yeah, most definitely. As much as it was very similar, it was still like, as far as especially like entertainment wise, it was the most entertaining match so far from these two men.
It's a last man standing match. The winner incapacitates their opponent to the point where they cannot answer a count of 10. So we've got the ref, pulling, pulling in overtime today, counting to 9, counting to 8, counting to 7, while Roman or Brock stagger back to their feet.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a bit weary because we remember the last time Roman was in a last man standing match, a la Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble 2021.
Goodness, you're absolutely right.
Where the handcuffs wouldn't come off and the 10 count was likely a 30 count. Goodness
gracious.
Yeah, we explained that to Dom because he was like, he was asking about like basically a lot of like the history of Roman's reign and stuff, and we were telling him about the last man standing match, and he basically asked like, has Roman been in one? And me and my dad just go, he's been in one, and the circumstances were very funny that night, seeing what happened, and so he was watching with with that like in the back of his mind of like let's see if there's any moments that like he can catch that where like the ref is visibly like counting slower. And it's funny because even commentary tells him count faster, just count faster.
Michael Cole's exasperation. It's cold out there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, his exasperation mirrors my sister's. She wants to go to bed. We're going to turn the TV off right after this match ends. And she goes, if he gets up, I'm going to shoot somebody. It was so funny how, we were all like waiting and waiting for the finish. Before you know it, we get our first tractor spot, if you don't count the jump. And he takes Roman into that bucket, which he's lowered to the ground. And now he's picking it up, and Roman falls to the mat from the bucket of that trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a wet fart of a spot, but, it was creative.
Yeah, very creative. You see a spot where not only does, I think Brock or Roman, one of them goes through a table, but then you see someone get put through a piece of that broken table later on.
Brock, it's so crazy. Brock picks the table piece up and just wham, beats Roman with it. And I'd love to think of somebody going, Brock, don't pick it up, leave it there. Like, wham. He doesn't get a chair, doesn't get a bat. He's like, here's half a table, wham.
Yeah, and then, you have your usual spots of the German suplexes, the Superman punches, the spears, all of which both men just keep getting up from. They won't stay down, and, they keep fighting on the outside, trying to get each other to, stay down for the 10 count. And then, they just keep powering out. They keep getting it up even after a guillotine choke. Roman still gets up before the 10 count and all that. And then, what happens, sir?
I'll read you what CBS Sports writes. After that attempt with the guillotine choke, Lesnar then got back in the tractor and lifted up an entire corner of the ring, sending Reigns rolling to the outside for yet another count. I think they did it in injustice, Jack. He picks a corner of the ring up. There's a significant amount of fans on that side of the ring. They can't see anything anymore. It's so high up in the air.
Yeah, and not only that, he moved it a good, foot or two.
He pushed it. It's so true. Yeah. It was so good. Yeah, and we were like, what are you doing? And he remember when Titus O'Neil slid under that ring and we all realized he almost died because he would have hit that piece in the middle?
Yeah.
The tractor hits that piece in the middle and he goes, no, a little to the left, and then whoosh, picks that corner of the ring up about, 12 feet in the air?
Wow, Roman is in that corner of the ring, and
Roman is an absolute beast at selling this. He tumbles outside. He actually is, I think, walking towards that corner so that he can fall from a higher height. And this elicits the Usos to jump out and go, oh no, our Us needs help, right?
Yeah, they try fighting.
Wants to run out though and really muddle in this business, right?
Yeah, but they get beat up by Lesnar, and it's funny. I didn't catch this until someone showed it. I think it was Jay or Jimmy. It's hard to tell, but one of them's about to get suplexed by Brock, and the other one's trying to stop him. But the way they're trying to stop Brock and fight him, they wrap around, and it looks like he helps Brock suplex his brother.
That's funny. I told my sisters and my brother-in-law, I said, because if Roman can't stop Brock, you know who can? Two guys that are smaller than Roman. We also get an appearance from Theory. And does he cash in, Jack?
He attempts to, only to get beaten up.
And F5'd for his trouble by Brock Lesnar on the outside.
Yeah, and then we missed the part. Heyman is literally, at this point, just begging Lesnar to stop, to the point where he grabs both the titles and gives them to Lesnar and is like, there, you won. You were the undisputed champion of the world. All for Heyman to just get picked up and F5 through the announce table. A
really funny, attempt at, protecting his tribal chief. He's just anything to stop this attack on Roman, and he gets put through a table for his troubles.
Yeah. And so, at this point, this is where things just truly escalate, as Theory gets obviously hit with that F5 before he can cash in, and that's when the Usos come in to super kick Lesnar, and he gets speared by Reigns. And then it's funny because at this point, Reigns grabs Theory's briefcase to attack him, but to attack Lesnar, but he also attacks Theory as if to say,
he certainly does, yes.
Yeah, this is what you deserve for thinking you can even come into this match and try and cash in.
for his trouble. Hey, how many minutes we got?
10 minutes.
Excellent. We go for the briefcase shot. Lesnar stands up. We go for a belt shot, and we're gonna stamp this one, Jack. This is gonna be it. How do they keep the beast down?
They hit him with that title, and then they just grab whatever debris is around. Chairs, the pieces of the announce table, steel steps, whatever they can pile on.
Did you notice, Jack? Did you catch that they rebuilt that table?
Yeah.
I don't know when, but I realized that earlier in the last episode we talked about Logan Paul, the frog splashing through that table, and somewhere, Jack, these sneaky guys, they rebuilt that table.
Yeah, it's funny because I literally told Dom when it happened, or no, my dad told Dom, he was like, "Oh, I guess we're not going to be seeing, a spot in the Roman Lesnar match then, with involving the table." And I was telling Dom, yeah, a couple of times when they break the table, they usually don't rebuild it. And he was like, "So what about the commentators?" I'm like, they just sit there, with their hands their hands together with a destroyed table in front of them, just watching the action.
Yep. Like their parents at a high school basketball game.
Yeah, so it was funny explaining that to him, and then what do you know? I was like, oh, so some instances they rebuild it because they want to do more than one spot involving it. And what do you know? Here it comes. And of course, like we said, they just pile whatever they could onto Brock, and finally it's enough for Roman to beat Lesnar by the 10 count.
For a company that builds on moments, I think it's a absolutely spectacular visual, Jack, of Lesnar sticking out of a pile of furniture pieces with Roman literally standing at the top, holding his arm up high.
Yeah,
I want to paint it, Jack.
And talk about a true improvement, just throughout the product, because Michael Cole is truly selling it like, oh, get off him already. Someone come and check. I don't think Brock's breathing, truly selling the attack and war that these two men went through.
Yeah, no, my niece, 10-year-old niece, doesn't watch any amount of wrestling at all. Watched this and said that was kind of entertaining. And my sister, I got to tell you my sister's response. My sister was like, I mean, do you even count that as a win? He needed what? 2 cousins, a lawyer, and the Riddler. And I was like, what the hell's the Riddler? She goes, the guy with the green suitcase. He's the Riddler, right? She's like, he needed all that to beat him. Does that even count as a win? And that was such an incredible opinion she shared.
Yeah, my dad definitely shares her sentiment.
I know it.
And you want to know what's the funniest part, though? He did say, it was entertaining, and it wasn't due to the match itself. It was more due to the fact that, he was just simply tired after the day. Dom actually knocked out during this match. He saw the He saw the tractor spot, and that of course interested him and all that. But the moment they started going through that whole throwing whatever they could at Brock, I was going crazy, and I'm surprised I didn't wake him up. I looked over at the end of the match when the 10 count went. I looked over and he was knocked out, and I was like, "Oh, Dom." He's like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Oh, I finished. You kind of knocked out." But he's like, "Oh, my bad." It was still interesting. He enjoyed the spots, but I think at that point he was just too tired.
For sure. I mean, it was such an exhausting night. It was about 8. My sister was quick to point out, took 45 minutes. That match was 45 minutes long. Basically started at 8 o'clock, almost went to 9.
Yeah. So
it's midnight out there for those folks in Tennessee.
Yeah. But such a really just good show from them after, a sort of, how would you say it? A streak of, I don't want to I use this word in a mean way, but mediocrity in the sense of the shows kind of were they were good enough on a level that you knew you weren't going to be thoroughly disappointed. You were still going to enjoy parts of it, but there was only going to be certain moments of reaching that high. But yet, I mean, obviously you come to have a higher standard when it comes to the big 4 pay-per-views, because it's those are the ones they go all out for, and boy did they go all out for this one in terms of especially the main event.
How many minutes we got?
5 minutes.
Okay, so to summarize your observation, Jack, I heard somebody on a podcast say that WWE recently has actually done a pretty good job at under-promising and over-delivering.
Yeah.
We went into this night like Money in the Bank going, what are you going to do? What are you going to expect? And, we got a real overachiever of a match like the Reigns match. Another match that I think was like worth the time and the energy was like the Becky Lynch Bianca Belair match, right? Mm-hmm. And you go, yeah, I was entertained,
Yeah.
I would love to get back to this point though, where I'm as excited for the night as I am throughout the night and I am after the night. And goodness gracious, big things are changing, and we might just get there sooner than you think.
Yeah, and I definitely can't wait for September. Sadly, that will be the next time you and I see each other. As far as recording on this podcast and talking events. But, hopefully by then we get a really good show.
What do you think? Are we talking Clash at the Castle and All Out?
I'm waiting to see how that card comes into play. But
did you see Dynamite today?
I didn't get to catch the first hour and a half because I was, setting up my new area.
Big old things happening on Dynamite. Yeah. I'll just say that.
Yeah, definitely a ton of big stuff. Obviously, they're introducing that Trios title that will come into play at the All Out event. I'm expecting the tournament matches to happen soon because they said the finals will take place there.
Right.
You want to talk about people being left off of certain cards like the WWE one? There's going to be definitely a ton of certain people, certain titles left off of that card unless they want to go 4 or 5 hours, which we've already said the one good thing that came out of the pandemic era of wrestling was they learned to cut back on how long these shows were.
Correct.
No,
Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate you having me, like always.
As always, sir, it's a pleasure having you as well. And I just want to quickly thank all the fans who have been, listening in, enjoying the content, whether it be on Spreaker, podcasts, Spotify, or even YouTube, which we've seen our biggest success recently.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. And with that being said, I want to thank you all for joining us for another 2 episodes of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guest.
It's Mr. Solis.
We will catch you all in September. So until then, thank you. And remember, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.